explain animal welfare in 10 minutes. So, what is animal welfare? I think the best way for us to kind of go about this is just to step back a little bit and look at what determines a cow's welfare. So we're going to look at the cow. And what all of you in this room share is the fact that you're all here for a meeting to do with animals. And I think that is the first thing that we need to think about is the biggest thing in animal welfare is the animal. And in our case, we're going to be looking at specifically 5074. She's going to be coming up quite a bit. But the other thing is that I just mentioned was all of you. And this is where we look at the other big part of what is animal welfare. It is the people involved. It's you guys, the scientists, it's producers, it's the public, it's students, it's the workers. Essentially, it's all of the people that are involved in the dairy system and all of their different values. That's what comes together and decides what a cow's welfare actually is. So, my job today is we're going to take a little look through the lens of 5074. So we've gone back in time. This is 5074's great-great-great-great-grandmother. Her name's Bessie, and she lives in a small 1950s pasture-based herd. Her milk production is about 20 kilograms per day. At the time of this picture being taken, she was confirmed pregnant, and she was in her 6th lactation. Farmer Brown is her owner, and his perspective on Bessie is that Bessie's healthy and productive for his needs, and most of the cows in his herd are just as old as Bessie. So his views are about longevity of his individual cows. Now, we're going to go back come back into present day, and we've got 5074, who I introduced earlier. She lives in a large commercial facility, freestall housing. She's currently giving 45 kilos per day. Pretty good. She is confirmed pregnant, and she's in her 2nd lactation. So now what does the manager of that commercial herd think? Well, as far as he's concerned, she's a good producer, so as long as she stays healthy, he'll keep her around. So right there, we've got two extremely different points of view. But we're not done. As I mentioned, there's other people that play into this. So the animal scientists, those guys, you guys that are in this room, where do they fit in? Well, essentially, you guys have all been the ones that have been helping to improve production, improve reproduction, the efficiency. But it's been on a herd level, and so I think these two groups tend to sort of converge together. Then we've got one more group of people that we need to consider. This nice happy family here, drinking their milk, excitedly drinking their milk. Now, if I asked them and I said, you know, where's that milk that you're drinking? Where's that coming from? I guarantee you they're not going to be thinking about what the scientists are thinking. They're going to come up with this. 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you, lovely pasture, happy, clean cows, and that's the main thing, happy cows. That would be the first thing I think that would pop into people's heads. Now, as a note, I wanted to point this out. Happy, the word happy, it's a positive affective state. So keep that in mind when a little later on, we're going to be talking about affective states, but just keep that in mind. So if we come back to the public, they're still in this realm. So they're still thinking along Farmer Brown's ways. They're focusing on the individual cow. And so if you kind of pull those two apart, you see that there's a bit of a divergence. It's actually quite a big divergence between what's actually happening from the scientists and from the producers and what the public is thinking is happening. So essentially, everyone involved is shaping the welfare of the cow through their views. So keep that in mind as we kind of continue forward here. So welfare. A few of you might have been at Pager's talk and might have been introduced to this concept, but essentially, animal welfare is the easiest way of looking at it is these 3 basic concepts. We'll start with biological functioning. So the cow needs to be healthy and thriving. I mentioned that she's producing 45 kilos of milk a day, and she's pregnant, so as far as we're concerned on that realm of biological functioning, she's doing pretty well. So we'll move forward. So now we're at affective states. So we talked about what a positive affective state, happiness, contentedness, but now we've got this point of animal welfare where we're trying to minimize negative affective states. So that's things like pain, fear, frustration. So, again, we're back to 5074, and we're going to watch her walk. So, it's a little hard to tell if you don't have the trained eye for it, so I'm going to slow it down in a moment here. Focus on her rear right leg. And you'll notice that she's quite gingerly putting that leg down. She's bobbing her head up a little bit to alleviate the pressure that she's feeling. So, if again, I can play it one more time while I'm while I'm talking. So, what we're looking at here is essentially a lame cow. And animal welfare scientists have been able to develop something called locomotion score. And from a 1 to 5 scale, this cow is actually a 4 in terms of being lame. So we, at this point, if we keep moving back to our welfare diagram, we haven't done a very good job in terms of ensuring that we've minimized at least the pain. I mean, I can't ask her if she's scared or frustrated, but I can show you that she is in pain. So we're going to move forward to the third concept, which is naturalness. Is the cow able to use her natural behaviors and the things that she's been naturally adapted to do? Well, we're going to look at where 5074 is living. So she's in a freestyle environment. She is on deep bedded sand, so she's relatively comfortable, able to lie down. She's able to get up, move around, feed when she wants to. But if we think back to one of those influencers in animal welfare, the public, if you ask the public here, would you say that that there's everything the cow needs is being met here? They would 9 times out of 10 say no. They would say, well, where's the pasture? These cows are naturally adapted to be grazing. You know, we should be doing that. So, naturalness, I don't know if we're quite there yet. But so what we've established is 5074 is currently producing well. So we've got the production side, okay. However, she is lame, so that's causing her pain. And some people might say that maybe on the biological side of things, she's not functioning that well. And depending on who we ask, her natural needs could be better met. So, the other thing we should come back to is the fact that if this cow is lame, the likelihood is, research does show, the likelihood is that her production will suffer. And the producer at the beginning said that the reason he's keeping her around is because she's a good producer. If her production starts to fail, then she's gone. So we should probably do something. So let's just, for fun, just because we can, we're going to put 5074 out on pasture. That's her there smiling at me. And those of you in the room that are all about production are going, what about production? It's true. If I put 5074 out on pasture, let her just stay out there all day, she's probably not going to cruise inside. She's not going to be eating all her TMR. And then all of a sudden she's back to her great-great-great-grandmother, Bessie, producing 20 kilos a day. But here's the question. Does she have to be out all the time? And this is a neat thing about where I'm going to bring in some animal welfare research. So we have, this is a trial that was done in British Columbia, and it was done from June until August, essentially the hottest time in BC. And the cows were allowed to essentially go as they were allowed to be inside in the freestall and eat TMR, but they were allowed also free access to the pasture. And what we found is that essentially the cow spent the most time outside from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. They were not that keen to actually be outside during the day because it was hot. So they were inside, they were eating their TMR. So, okay, let's just say we're going to take 5074, we're going to put her outside, but we're only going to do that at night. What does that do to her production? Well, here's essentially 5074 was in the pasture group, and so they were forced to be inside during the day, outside, and then at night they were put outside the pasture, whereas the no pasture group stayed inside the entire time. And there was no significant difference in milk production. So now we're seeing sort of the interconnectedness that happens with the 3 different welfare concerns that I was referring to at the beginning. Now this is where things get even cooler, is that, remember, 5074 is lame. I said that she was a 4 out of 5, so she's lame, so we need to do something about that. So again, she's out on pasture. Well, this is the pretty incredible thing, that only 5 weeks of being out on pasture, and she has dropped down in her lameness score by 1 full gauge score. So, this sort of addresses to us that by addressing one welfare concern, so even just the little thing of let's let her go out on pasture so she can graze and use her natural adaptations, has actually helped to address others. So we've helped to bring down her lameness, and by doing that, we're probably helping in terms of keeping her a highly productive cow. Now, I should point out, yes, obviously there's going to be problems. I mean, gopher holes that they can step in, rocky pathways going from the milking parlor to the pasture, flies, and I mean, and this is definitely an issue that would be happening anywhere in the Southwest states where it's super hot. This cow is one unhappy cow. So the main thing that we need to look at is that what's important is that we work within the system. When we're looking for how to address, is her welfare okay in this system, we need to be specific to the system. And so the most important thing, essentially, to achieve good balance, to achieve good welfare is the balance of all three of these. And in the end,